Let's talk about the coronation, because we're not far away now, just almost a week away. Big story on the front page of the Mail this morning, saying invitations to put you off your coronation case. Sinn Fein leader, of course, being invited. You would expect it, though. And then the architect of China's brutal crackdown in Hong Kong. I mean, I suppose you could slightly have a bad taste in your mouth, but what else are they supposed to do?
I disagree on that. I think we should have made a symbolic decision there not to invite anyone involved in those outrages in Hong Kong. I mean, Hong Kong is a former part of it's very much part of our history and our heritage. We've had to accept, and rightly so, many of those who essentially fled from Hong Kong as the Chinese took over. And why are we honouring some of the key architects of some of those outrageous policies that showed the appalling attitude towards human rights in Hong Kong, despite all the empty assurances that we were given that this wouldn't happen? So I would have been all up for a diplomatic row with the Chinese. I know we've got to stop pussyfooting around these people.
Well, I guess you either take that view or you don't, though, because I dare say those in the diplomatic corps would say, well, we do a lot of trade with China, that's why we talk to China, that's why we go and send missions to China, and we have a better voice inside the room than outside the room. I'm not saying I support that view, but that's what they would say.
I'm sure it is what they would say, and I would say we should do a bit less trade with China and start making some of our own things, or find other slightly more benign trading partners. China does not wish us well. No one should be under any illusions about that. They're up to all sorts of truly dreadful things in all sorts of places. And, you know, we shouldn't rehabilitate figures or habilitate figures who are involved in things that are greatly to the detriment of people with whom we have a strong connection, i.e. those living in Hong Kong. Yes.
I mean, it's a perfectly valid point of view. And what about the Chinese intervention in Ukraine yesterday? We had President Zelensky saying, with your TalkTV international editor's hat on, President Zelensky saying he had a long phone call with Xi Jinping. Good or bad?
Well, I mean, I would never say don't bother having the conversation, but, you know, how much is that other things that Xi Jinping allegedly, supposedly said worth? You know, apparently he was, you know, talking the talk about the importance of sovereignty and so on. I mean, what utter nonsense coming from, you know, the leader of the Chinese regime that on a daily basis is absolutely cocking a stick at sovereignty. You know, this is a regime that's busy trying to colonise the South China Sea, trying to impede freedom of navigation in key maritime routes. It doesn't have any regard for sovereignty. So I don't really, and also whatever Xi Jinping, the warm words that he may have articulated was somewhat undermined by other senior Chinese figure earlier this week, kind of suggesting that former parts of the Soviet Union have no real status. I just think, yes, sure, President Zelensky's right to go through the motions, but let's not fall for any kind of illusion that China is going to be an effective and benign peacemaker in this conflict.
And what about Sinn Fein? Because, you know, these are the people who don't want to turn up in Parliament to take their seats because they don't wish to pledge allegiance to the King, or formerly the Queen, but they don't mind going to the coronation.
Well, again, I just don't think they should be invited. You know, I guess these stories were always bound to come. You know, look through the guest list and find the, you know, the despots and dictators that shouldn't be there. But they, you know, they really do show unbelievable hypocrisy by accepting the invitation.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff, but I'm sure there are going to be more stories like that. Isabel, thank you very much indeed. Isabel Oakeshott, TalkTV's international editor.